Hi everyone, Julia Poulsen here. I'm the Manager of Talent Development at ICI, and today I'm honored to have Ross Waggoner. He is the Environmental Specialist over at USI Consultants. So thanks for joining me today, Ross.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, if you want to go ahead and tell everybody how long you've been with USI Consultants, and then also just go ahead and tell us all about USI Consultants, what they do, what they specialize in, all things USI.
Yeah, so I'm going on here at USI, so I'm fairly new. We are an engineering and survey company, provide services for our local public agencies from everything from acquiring assistance for funding all the way through construction inspection. So a little involvement in all aspects of project development. And yeah, originally started as a full survey company in which they've branched to engineering and now doing environmental and helping head that up. So yeah, a little bit of everything.
But go ahead and tell everyone how you got into like the engineering and surveying side of highway construction.
So I took an internship with a firm in town my senior year of college, and I really enjoyed the experience. I was doing construction inspection, and I just really liked the overall sphere of construction and roadway and all the different facets and how fast moving and kind of high intensity everything was. And always kind of had a knack for heavy equipment, just growing up driving tractors and backhoes, and kind of was a second nature thing for me. And I was lucky enough to land a full-time spot after my internship. Yeah, just kept rolling in the industry and really have learned to love it and couldn't see myself doing anything else now.
Obviously, already mentioned you're newer to USI, but can you tell us, when you had the opportunity to join USI, was there anything that stuck out to you about USI Consultants that made you want to join the team, made you want to work for them?
Yeah, one of the major things for me was just the culture that they provided, and it was very apparent up front in some of my early talks with them of just like the work-life balance. I've got a young family. While we still have a hefty workload and it still is some long hours sometimes as this industry requires, there's very understanding of just allowing family to come first. And it's just been a really nice balance. And
unfortunately, roadways are always going to need maintenance or built, so it's a really good industry to be in. As an environmental specialist at USI Consultants, what would you say is your favorite part of your job in highway construction over there?
Man, my favorite part of my job, and it's kind of counterintuitive to what most people think of environmental, but just getting to be involved in the multiple facets of design and kind of looking at constructability review with my background, being in the field and building stuff. I can oftentimes kind of lend some valuable advice to some of the engineers when they're looking at certain things and how things may go together. But then we also get to evaluate those impacts on the environment and how we can maybe avoid and minimize as much as possible. And then coming up with like site restoration has been something that's been kind of newer for me, but I really enjoy that, and getting to see like finished product when the grass is all growing and the road and the bridge are just all intermingling well together, and you can see the ecosystem coming back. It's something that I really personally enjoy, that just the multifaceted sector, something different every day, involvement with all of our projects to some degree, whether it's just looking at how things may work in the field versus the impacts that we may have and how to get around or deal with those and the implications that they could have on the schedule. And I would say that I really enjoy the differentiation every day. Kind of coincides with the industry too, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Every project's different. I'm someone who constantly wants a challenge, and I constantly want to learn and be surrounded by people who can challenge me and also I can learn things from. So it's an excellent balance that I get.
Tell us more about how you got to USI Consultants, where you started to how you got to where you're at today.
I took that internship my senior year, and I was that I wanted to continue in this industry, and I really love construction. I still do, but I was always interested like how the engineering kind of came together and the behind the scenes and the planning and everything. So, I kind of told myself early on, like, get this field experience. A lot of engineers get a bad rep for like not knowing what it takes to actually build it or whatever. So I feel like I kind of helped build some of that rapport, and I did, form work and order materials and how all of these things come together, and dealing with rain and waking up at 4 o'clock looking at the radar and trying to call a bunch of guys and all the things that had to be dealt with. But always in the back of my mind, I was always kind of had that goal to get to be more on the planning side, engineering side. So, I got this opportunity to kind of be in the engineering side, and jumped on it, and really happy that I did. Like I said, I have so much more intimate knowledge on what it takes to actually get a project to construction, and some of the hurdles that we have to go through, and some of the our local public agencies have to kind of deal with, and helping them circumnavigate that, and helping them just find the best fit for their project, for their community, is something that's really gratifying for me. It's almost more gratifying than standing back and seeing the final product. I would say that's a close second, but just getting to deal with those clients, and that we are blessed to have the opportunity to serve, is just something that's really, really a great opportunity.
But as an environmental specialist, is your day-to-day routine similar every day, or like what can you share about how your day-to-day is in your current position at USI Consultants?
Yeah, my day-to-day is consistently not consistent, I would say, but there's some expectations, primarily kind of focusing on permitting aspect is kind of what I've kind of started, has kind of expanded beyond that. But with that, when we turn into the agencies, you never know when the review is going to come back, and you could be working on something else, and you got to be ready to shift gears because you've got to address questions or anything that might come up. And then county or city engineer could call you and say, hey, what about this scenario? Or I want you to look at this and that. I would say that I have a schedule. I'm big on to-do lists. Like, I do try to put an attainable list together each day, and I strive to try to check those items off the list. But I have had the same to-do list numerous times, understanding the flexibility, and I try to make my goals attainable, but then also give myself a little bit of fluff,
See, and that's the nice thing about the industry. It's always exciting every day, especially position. So that's an awesome thing to tell kids too. If you want a challenge and you don't want the same old thing every single day, that's just another reason to pick a career in this industry, which is really awesome.
Absolutely.
But looking back, can you think of a time when you knew exactly, like, I want to work in highway construction? Can you remember a time on when you knew this was the industry you wanted to be a part of?
Yeah, the economics did kind of come into it too, and the job security, and just kind of understanding. So I was a graduate from high school in 2009, so that economic downturn really wasn't that effective then, and I just did see that this industry had kind of weathered that storm. We still had, while not as many projects as really proactive economy can provide, we still had great opportunities. When it comes to an exact point, my first project is full-time was for the city of Elkhart, and shout out to Mike Macklin if he gets to watch this. I love the project. There were many opportunities that I had up there to get to see a multi-phase project downtown, and I got to see the positive impact that a project can provide just to a community. And when I think about it, I think that the setting the beams over 3 tracks of the Norfolk Southern for our overpass that we built was a pretty solidifying day for me.
Anytime you drive through Elkhart, you're always going to see that, and that'll definitely spark a memory. Is there anything else that you can think of that makes your job rewarding?
Yeah, one thing that's kind of cool that I get to do now is, like, sometimes we're the first ones to the site, for environmental. Like, I go out to do an initial field check, and just to kind of get to see that initial existing condition and get to see just the beautification of Indiana's nature landscape. A few weeks ago, I was in Porter County on Tuesday, and I was in Jefferson County down south on Thursday, and just to get to see the different geological formations and just the landscape in general was just something that, for me, I'm also kind of just outdoorsy guy just in general. So just getting to kind of be out and be in that, and getting to evaluate it at a technical level is something that's very rewarding for me. I've learned more about plants and animals than I thought I ever may, especially native species when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to site restorations and things of that nature. So that's definitely a really cool part. You get to go out and get paid to tromp around in the woods and dig holes sometimes for wetland delineation. So that's pretty cool too.
See,
So
and that's awesome, especially when you love being outside. That's another cool aspect of the industry is you're not stuck in an office 24/7. You actually get to go outside, enjoy the nice weather, even when you're putting in a hard day of work, which is really great.
absolutely.
As an environmental specialist at USI Consultants, what would you say would be the number one skill set that someone would have to succeed in your position?
It's kind of
I'm sure there's several that you can think
There
of.
are, but I mean, it's communication. I mean, that's the number one thing that I kind of see is just people that aren't aware that even if you are wrong, you can still say what it is that you may think, and just not letting emails die in your inbox or not returning that person's phone call and just kind of not leaving the other person hanging. It's been very influential for me. I've seen a lot of success from different operations and different throughout all of my experience with just people who proactively communicate just really helps to kind of keep these projects going. We're on a 4-year development now for like a federal aid project. So like there's a lot of
Wow.
things that happen early that, when we're doing an initial assessment of what it may be, and then we go out to do notice of termination and the grass is growing and everything, and we're trying to close out the project. There's just so much communication and so many people that have to touch that project throughout the entire duration that you got to be open and willing to communicate and ask questions and being flexible too. Like you're not always going to be right, and your answer could be right, but someone else's answers could be right and a little bit better too. And
Mm-hmm.
now as a consultant, sometimes you have to just do as the client wants to do as well. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes your ideas aren't always carried out, and you just have to be willing to accept that and
Mm-hmm.
try
Yeah,
to do
and that's
better.
a and that's the thing too with projects. People who aren't in the industry, they really only see the finished project. I mean, yeah, you see people out in the fields actually building whatever it is that's going to be built, but people who are not in the industry, a lot of them don't know. They have no knowledge on how much work has to happen prior to getting to that phase of the project where you're actually building stuff. So I agree, communication is definitely key, and really in the industry as a whole, but especially for you, that's definitely is key. Like you said, being flexible too. So thinking about when you were younger, what advice would you give to your younger self that you can think of that would have maybe helped you as an adult?
Oh, I mean, I wish that I would have gotten an internship my first year of college, like my first summer. And I carried a job throughout college, but I was a server, bartender. I had learning experiences from that, but I would have really liked to have tried out some, building construction and maybe wastewater treatment plants or something. I don't know. Like there's just so many different facets even within it, within the civil industry that you can kind of look at, and also just the different companies. Like even if you're like, if you want to build roads and bridges, that's amazing. I think that you should just try your freshman year to get an internship. I know that Purdue does a great job of kind of pushing that. They don't necessarily until you get later, when it look at credits and what have you, but just really trying to get as many experiences as you possibly can, as many places as you can, so that you can figure out what works for you, and you can kind of not be, for a while there, it's like I only knew one way, right? So just kind of giving yourself the opportunity to kind of build your own vision and getting to kind of see those things and getting as much experience, professional experience as you possibly can, as early as you can, just really understand where you might want to go for the rest of your career. I've known plenty of people that have come out of school and gotten their FE and are close to taking the PE and just decided like, not for me. And it's like just kind of sad sometimes to kind of see people whom maybe thought all along is what they wanted to do, but you don't really know until you really get into it. So
Yeah, 100% agree with that. Well, looking at a different way to get into our industry, I mean, you and I went the college route because that's what worked for you and I. But there are some students who are in high school that maybe college isn't really on their radar and they prefer to just get out, start working right away. 10 years ago, I was in high school. Skilled trades wasn't exactly something that was pushed a lot. And I see now over the last 10 years in high schools that's changed, which is awesome. Specifically with our industry, they offer more classes that are applicable for students to find a career, start their career in high school, and then do that right after they graduate. So if you were at a high school talking to students who don't want to do the college route, they're wanting to go skilled trades, start whether it's join a union or do whatever, but they just want to get in our industry right away. What would you tell them about our industry, or what advice would you give them doing that route?
Got good security, so that's got to be willing to be there on time. That's always been something that you have to be punctual. You got to be willing to put in the time and keep learning. And there are so many opportunities. I don't want to take away from the trades at all, but like here at USI, like you can come in and you can be an instrument man on our survey crew, construction layout team, that we have, and all of those opportunities open up doors for professional accreditation as well, so as with becoming a journeyman, you can become a licensed professional surveyor, and then you kind of continue to progress, and there is upward mobility. So just understanding that if you do put in the time and the effort, that there's rewarding potential, but it does not happen automatically in this industry, and it's not for everyone, and it's not for the faint of heart for sure. So just being ready to go to work, I guess, is kind of something, and not seeing that as a derogatory. And I don't mean to be too snide or stringent, or just got to be ready to get after it, I say. So
you're not just choosing a job, you're choosing a career, and there's a lot of room, like you said, for growth.
Well, yeah, and there's good camaraderie too. Like when you're on a crew, and like kind of turns into a brotherhood, and the same can kind of go for just our survey crews too. We got these guys go out each and every day. You got to watch each other's back, and there's just some reward in that too, right? Is kind of having that camaraderie and all going for the common goal. And obviously, number one goal of the day is to make it home safe to our families. There's so many rewards to the industry that if you just put in the time and the effort, and you want it, then it's there.
That's great. Well, this has been awesome. I appreciate you so much, Ross, for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. Thanks for reaching out, and thanks to USI for giving me the plug and giving me the opportunity to get to talk to you today.